Thanks so much for joining us here on the final episode of the Parramatta's podcast for the 2022 season. I am Barry, joined always by Bernie and John O'Bernie. I'll start with you, mate. How are you this week?
Pretty good, surprisingly. I think that we actually, I think it was a successful year. I think we overachieved. We weren't supposed to get to the grand final. We weren't supposed to have all this fanfare, and I think it's good for the team. It's good for the fans, and we've got a bit of a taste of it. A lot of people, very depressed this week, but I think the boys did us proud at the end of the road. Weren't supposed to get there, got there, and I think they played well. Surprisingly, I just think that Panthers outfit was untouchable. There was a few things we could have done differently, which we'll go into. But pretty happy. Jono, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah, almost echo those sentiments, mate. Now I've had a couple of days to sort of process it. I think it was a very successful year, and I don't think we played badly in the grand final at all, all things considered.
Yeah.
I don't think, as I said on the night, I don't think there was a team on the planet that was stopping Penrith that night. They were just perfect,
Yeah.
We played very well, but Penrith were just that much faster and that much better. But all in all, yeah, I didn't think we were making the grand final. There was a lot of times this year I didn't think we were going to make the grand final, and we were there on the big night and we gave ourselves a chance, and that's all we could do. I think there's a lot of players that are hurting, a lot of fans that are hurting, but when they look back on it, I think they can be pretty proud of 2022 as a season.
Barry, what about yourself?
I certainly think the season overall was one to be proud of. I think for the sake of honesty, we should go back to the very start of the season, and there were expectations on us making the grand final, not only from people like Phil Gould, but from us. So, this was going to be our year. So I think towards the end of the season, there was a lot of skepticism in this group about us making it to the big dance. And we did get there. So that was a good thing. And I do agree with you that, look, I just think we're outclassed. Like, to me, and I don't know if Bernie's going to agree with me here, but it was like watching an Origin match from a New South Wales point of view. We get the ball and we take one step and suddenly the opposition are on us. And somehow we just can't replicate that. And it's happened in Origin year after year after year after year. And that was what it was like. We just couldn't get any ground. They just pinned us down, pushed us back. And so that's sort of like the echoes that I got in the first sort of 15 minutes was like, wow, this is very much like what I've watched over and over and over in Origin as a New South Wales fan. And they just did really well to pin us down and hold us back there in our 20 and our 30. So again, we were outclassed. I know we'll get on to bunker calls and ref calls and things like that, but honestly, I didn't think that really made much difference.
I don't think, this is what I was saying, because I wanted to get into like some of the nitty gritty. There are a few things that annoyed me, but all of these things being said, I don't think it was going to change the result. And a lot of the things that I'm going to bring up are hindsight things. And it's like, well, maybe we should have tried something different. Maybe we should have, because we got rolled. So it's in no way a critique of our performance, because I just think they were just too good for us. And I think we knew they were too good for us. And that's why we were like doing, from the start of the game, we kicked, I think, on the second tackle to try and get some field possession. And you could see that the boys were like, we have to do something a little bit different because we're not going to match it with them. We have to try something a little bit different. And I think that's why Gutho was doing those bloody short kickouts, which I do not like, the short dropouts.
No.
He did 3 of them, and we were successful with 1 of them. So, look, I like the idea, but our hit rate with those is not good, because if we give the ball back to Penrith 40 metres out, there's a good chance they're going to score. So you might as well go for the 10-metre kick and try and get the ball out. But we had been unsuccessful with this strategy for the last 5 games. Gutho's been attempting to do this the last 5 games, and it was the first time that he did the 10-meter rubber kick, and Mitch was supposed to run out to it. Unsuccessful. It seemed a bit panicky for me. And the one thing I didn't like was that our team didn't arrive to the ground on a bus together. They all made their own separate way to the ground. And I just know, like, performing in venues, Barry, like, you know, when we've done stand-up, and it's kind of like you go to the venue and we go together in a car. You kind of have that, we're the comedians, and if we die out there, we're going to be laughing about it on the way home. But you very much feel like it's us versus them. And then you get there and then you're kind of like, it's us. But if you arrive by yourself, whenever I've gone to a gig by myself, I can only relate it to this. And I've just gone, oh shit, you know, where is the stage? Where is, you know, where we're going to do this comedy gig? Where, you know, and I get a bit frazzled. But if I turn up with, you know, yourself and a couple of other mates, it's a fun kind of thing. And I just think that if we had turned up as a team in a team bus, kind of like we're the gladiators turning up to the Colosseum, and we're all together, and, you know, we're a big team, and whatever happens, we're together kind of thing. I think that was a mistake. And I also think that not taking the opportunity to train at Acor Stadium, we knocked it back. We were offered one training session at the ground and we knocked it back. I think it would have been good, once again, relating it to doing stand-up. If you go there and you see the stage and you get up on the stage, you look out, you're like, oh, you know, it's no big deal. And you're there with your mates, and, you know, it's all I can relate it to, really. And I just think that in hindsight, if we had turned up together on a team bus and if we had done that training session, once again, I don't think it would have made any difference. Yeah. I just would have preferred that. Jono?
Yeah, you almost lose that sense of unity, don't you? I found it very puzzling. I didn't realize that's what we'd done until after the game. And
Same. I heard it after.
It was one of a few calls that Brad maybe could have done differently in hindsight, because, man, the biggest game of the year, and you don't want that. You know, you could have been talking strategy. You could have been hyping the boys up long before they got to the ground, you know. The halves could have been talking, the forwards could have been talking, the coaches could have been talking on the way to the ground. You know, they could have got that sense of anticipation together, the sense of urgency together, the sense of atmosphere together as a unit. Instead, they're all coming in dribs and drabs, and you're waiting for players, and you can't discuss game plans till everyone's there. And I think it was a bad call, mate. Yeah, I agree. I think it was very puzzling on the biggest day of the year to not arrive as a unit.
And we've sort of talked about this issue throughout the year, is that BA, like, there's those questions around his motivational ability, you know, to get the team fired up at the big moment. And so...
Yeah, well, he came out in the press and said, no, we don't have a siege mentality. Like, I don't want us to go in with that thought. This is wrong. Like, you should have a siege mentality. It should be us versus them. And BO was like shutting it down. Like, no, we don't have that siege mentality. We're just, you know, going through our processes. And it's just like, I just think maybe you missed a step with that. Like, if the boys had turned up with the siege mentality, with the it's us versus them, and then they get there and it was, you know, apparently 70% Parramatta you know, fans in the ground. It was just a massive, we just outnumbered them massively. Like, none of us could get tickets. Like, you know, it was just crazy, you know. And I went to see it I turned up to Combank, and there was thousands of people there just to watch it. So I just think if they had arrived as a team with it's us versus them, and then they get there and it's like, hang on, you know, everyone's here's on our side, you know, it might have, once again, I honestly don't think it would have changed the result. So it's kind of there were just a couple of weird things. And BA did say, I don't know what I'm doing. He outright said, I've never been to a grand final before. I don't know what I'm doing. So I do hope that he takes this away and learns from it. Like, and, you know, we have been pulling our hair out by him not learning a lot of stuff and during the year. So I don't know. I don't think it would have made any difference. move on to the refs calls. Now, I don't know if I'm just completely one-eyed, but I think we got absolutely rorted with a lot of those decisions, especially the obstruction try. I think that was an obvious one. And I think that could have changed it back. Bailey got pinged for trying to take an advantage when Sean Lane ran into Cleary. And it's like Cleary was standing in front of him. How is that an advantage? Like, it's like, so anyway, look, once again, I don't think it would have made a difference, but we could have, if Sivo had scored that try instead of fumbling, it might have given us some momentum. There were just some things I think that we could have done to get into the game a bit more. Now, I think once we realized that we weren't going to outskill them, what I wanted to see was someone just belt someone, because it was just like, yes, because in all honesty, it's a strategy, because if we can't outplay them, it is a strategy to try and turn it into a fight and say to them, look, they're a bunch of egomaniacs. That's obvious in their post celebrations. You challenge their manhood. You go up and you drop Luai. Imagine the result. You know, the crowd would have gone nuts if after he kicked the Iceman, if Iceman had got up and dropped him, even if he got sin binned, even if he got sent off, it would have changed the momentum of the game, because it would have changed it into a fight instead of a game of football. And they would have been trying to hurt us. And then you bring on Nathan Brown, and, you know, wow, once again, I don't know if it would have made any difference. They just were just that level above us, and they just did everything perfectly. They played the 9 meters. There was no way they were 10 meters. They were on the 9 meter line the whole bloody game. They were dragging us back to our own triad line. They were holding us down. Now, the stat that came up, which I found fascinating, which I was not aware of, is they actually are the lowest team in post-meter gains. As in, when they get tackled, they don't try and drive the football forward. They try and play it as quickly as possible. So when they get hit, they don't try and push another 3 meters, which most teams try and do. The post meter, you know, that everyone says I got to get the post meters. They hit and they go down. They get up and play the ball. They go for the fast play the ball. I think that's something we've got to look at next year. We've got to try and look at what they did, and we've got to try and replicate some of these systems that they have, I think. And, you know, I guess we start talking about next year, Jono.
Yeah, well, look, I'm pretty disappointed we put the Q in the rack in terms of second phase play. We got suckered into playing 1 hour football again. Again, something about playing Penrith and them forcing us to play 1 hour football is just super irritating. There was Reed Marnie got a super late offload in the second half that was the set Sivo almost scored off. And that was the first like super late offload that made us plenty of meters. And I'm like, where had that been for 60 minutes? Like, you know, they've been all over us. You know, I like at the start of the game that we were trying something different, but I feel like that sort of desperation would have been better used in the second half. But again, you're right. I don't think it changes the result. I think they had the waterness from the start, but I just, you know, we stuck to a game plan all year that got us more success than not, and we really went away from it at a time that it mattered most. You know, the offloads they went away, the quick ball spreads they went away. It was just very basic one-up stuff, and Penrith were just eating it up. And by the time we tried anything adventurous, it was 18-0. Backs against the wall anyway. They just played a almost perfect half of football. You know, I just really was disappointed that we went away from what brought us to the big dance in the first place. And maybe it was nerves. Maybe they had an adrenaline dump. Like they started really well. The first 10 minutes was super intense, and then once Penrith started getting on top of us, you could see us just starting to wilt and starting to run out of ideas. And you know, Mitch was flustered. Dylan had I don't think Dylan kicked much. It seemed like Mitch was very much the target when it came to kicking the ball, and we just ran out of ideas. way more quickly than I would have liked. But again, Penrith were just the better team on the day, and you can learn those lessons, and you can say you can take them forward. And Gutho is so adamant that our premiership window isn't closed, but
Yeah.
I don't think we make the grand final next year, regardless of
No.
who we sign. It's good experience, man, but you should have, used it while you had it, sort of thing. Because I don't think this team makes the grand final next year, and if they make the grand final again, it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 year rebuild. And by that stage, Mitch and Dylan are a few years older now, and if they're still in the club at all, So I think it's a long road from here. I think, the mantra going into it was have no regrets, and I think we have more than a few regrets coming out of that game, but it is what it is. We've had a few days to digest it now, and we got to move on there, that we were beaten by the better team, and it showed on the night.
Well, 2 points that have been brought up is one, and both of them we've talked about this year. One is that we don't have a plan B. We can go out there, and the second we start getting behind, we don't have that ability to switch it up and go from that second phase play to suddenly playing a power game. We just don't do that. We sort of go in with one idea, and that's what we stick to throughout the match. So that's something that we've seen time and time again. And so I'm always very skeptical when I hear the terms "we've learned lessons," because I think we've learned lessons, but we don't really see it actually manifest in that sense. And the other thing that we've talked about, and I said it very early in the year about Curtis Scott, when I was excited when they were signing Curtis Scott. I was like, we need a chucklehead.
We need a
guy who's going to go in there and punch on. We need that. And Bernie, you made a similar point this year when there was talk of they were signing some firecracker.
Marty Tapau.
Yeah, and you were like, okay, so someone in the club is of that mindset that this is what's missing in our game. We actually need that. And that didn't happen. We didn't get the firebrand. And as you say, well, they didn't come on and they didn't punch on. And again, we've talked about this year as well, that, and I'm in two minds here because I don't like cheating. I really do think that, the cheater never wins. But as the point I made earlier about, we're like the Socceroos, that all these other teams just fall over and milk penalties, and we don't. But yet we never make it. Like, they always win over us because they're prepared to do the bullshit. And so maybe we need to start going, you know what, we need a guy to come on and just elbow Cleary dead in the face and get sent off. Like, hey,
to be fair, I thought that's what Nathan Brown's role was going to be, but he was very within himself. I thought Nathan Brown's role was to come in and pressure Cleary and get in Luai's face and be that firebrand that you're talking about. But it was
it should have been. But if you look at Nathan Brown, though, he comes on and let's say he runs out there and he flattens Cleary, lays him out cold, and he gets sent off, and then we lose the game. And then it's like, oh, we lost the game because Nathan Brown was an idiot. And it's like, well, and then Nathan Brown is like fighting for a contract, which he is. We don't know if we're going to re-sign him. Yes. All of a sudden, his career it could be over because he's done the right thing, which was to go and flatten Cleary or Luai. And from a personal point of view, he must be thinking, I go out there and get sent off. How am I going to get another contract? Yeah. Like, everyone's going to hate me. Everyone's going to say you cost them the game and it's 37 years now because of you. So I think we needed some of the younger players to step up. I think the Iceman would have been a perfect one because he's leaving the club and he got kicked. He got kicked by Luai. He had every right to get up and flatten him. It wasn't kicked hard. It was a stupid little, let's not call it a brutal kick or anything. It was a stupid nudge. But it was an excuse to smack him fair in the bloody head.
Oh, God, yes.
And all the Para fans would have gone, no, he was within his right to lay him out cold. He got kicked. Everyone would have been, and he's leaving the club anyway. He's already signed with the Tigers. That could have been a big turning point. So I think, who was the other? It was Hodges. Who's the guy that the Roosters signed? Is it Hodge? What's his name? He's the
Hodge.
Yeah, what's his name? forgot his bloody name. The guy that got arrested overseas for being a
Matt Lodge.
What is
Matt
it?
Lodge.
Matt Lodge, not
Matty
Lodge.
Lodge. Yeah.
Matt Lodge.
He went to the Broncos first, and now he's at the
We were going to sign him as well. So we were going to sign him. We were going to sign and Matt Lodge. Like, I don't like him as a person, but my God, I would have loved to have had him out there going up against Moses. What's Moses' last name?
Leota.
I've been on the bloody booze too much the last few days. My brain cells are gone. Moses Leota came out. The first thing he did was drop an elbow on one of our players when unnoticed. And it was a swinging. No, actually, it was a swinging arm. Sorry, it was. I can't remember who it was on. Swinging arm for one of the first tackles of the game. If you watch the replay, I did watch the replay because I was just like, I need to know what happened because I was so excited on the night. I was just, you just see colours flying, and So I was like, I've got to watch back and find out what happened. And we got outclassed. There is one thing I want to bring up, and it is the fact that Grant Atkins was the video ref, and he is a life member of the Penrith Referees Society. Now, I don't know if there's any sort of, he goes on there, but it just seemed to me every 50-50 call went Penrith.
We lost.
Every strip of the ball. Oh, he stripped it with the back of his hand. No, he didn't. It was so many little things. Once again, not saying it would have made any difference, but it just annoyed the hell out of me that the whole game, Cleary, when they challenged and it was like, oh, that's not a knock on. He stripped the ball and it went straight into a Parramatta player. And it's like, went backwards. There were so many things that were just infuriating.
Yeah.
Let's move forward, though, because we've got to look at next year.
Before we get to that, though, Bernie, I want to go back to Nathan Brown.
Yeah.
And all the points you've made are totally valid. But there's also the fact that he wasn't playing before the grand final.
Yes.
And so you can't really blame him for not having the greatest form if he wasn't in the team. And that was a mistake. And we've been talking about those mistakes all year about Bryce Cartwright should have been in that team. He should have been.
He should have. Now, that being said, I do want to give credit where it is due. Jake came out and did a fantastic job in the last 5 minutes. He was there when Gutho scored. He was right next to Gutho in support. And then he scored that brilliant try at the end. Now, granted, the Panthers had taken their foot off the gas, but he was there and he came to play. And that's what I ask a bench player to do. Come out and score tries and run faster than everyone else who's tired. And he did that. Now, credit to him because it was very ballsy, but he shouldn't have been there. Cartwright should have been there. And would it have made a difference? Who knows? Another forward? Who knows? You rotate our forwards. You bring, I just think what I am worried, I'm worried about making all the same mistakes next year. And one of the big mistakes we made was just only playing 15 players a game, 16 for 5 minutes, and then someone comes on for 1 minute. It's insane. We have to try and emulate what the Panthers did. They had good bench rotation. Their forwards, they just kept coming and coming and coming. Now, we do get Josh Hodgson. Have we decided how we're going to say his last name yet? Hodgson. Yeah. Now, he has done both of his things. He's had 2 knee reconstructions, one on each peg.
Fuck.
I actually think we will play better with him next year than we would have with Reed. But Reed going forward, first of all, he's going to stay on the field probably. Now, if Josh can stay on, I'm pretty confident. Dillbags looked pissed. And Dillbags said after the game, it's not about the money anymore. Now, he seems like a really honest kid because he got in a lot of shit at the start saying, oh, who's going to pay me the most money? He was being honest. But now I think he's being honest by saying it's not about the money anymore. He's now been humiliated and he wants redemption. And I can see it in his face. Gutho.
Yeah, he's mad.
Oh, Gutho's pissed. And not only that, they played Sweet Caroline in the dressing rooms after, which is Mitch Moses' try celebration song. I don't know, like Mitch, I think we need to bring back Angry Mitch. I think we've tamed him down a little bit too much. BA's gone, okay, you're a professional, and he's gone, all right, but I think we need to bring back a little bit of the mongrel in Mitch, because we need some mongrel players. A few rumors that we're looking to sign Joseph Sawali, which would be that would be an incredible signing. Now, one that has a lot of weight is, we spoke about a few weeks ago, is the Liam Martin one. So that is gathering a lot of steam, that we're going to sign Liam Martin, who played a brilliant game for the Panthers in the grand final. Now, the connection apparently comes to Trent Barrett. Apparently they're cousins. I didn't know they're cousins, but they are cousins. And apparently Liam liked playing with Trent when Trent was at the Panthers. So if we could sign him to replace the Iceman, I'd be really, really happy. Joseph Sawali, we just need one. We need a Latrell Mitchell. We just need that one player. We've got some really good players, but they're not at that level of Nathan Cleary, of Latrell Mitchell. They're just not at that level where they will drag a team kicking and screaming through the bloody, gates of victory. I mean, we just don't have. Mitch he's close, but he still has that panic in him, that he gets panicked that the great players don't get. So I don't think it'd be for next year. If we did sign Joseph, I don't think it would be for next year. Liam Martin is apparently, they're talking about him for next year, because he's still got another 1 year on the contract, but apparently Panthers are salary capped press at the moment, so they might let him go.
Happens to every premiership team, yeah.
It does. And they are losing a couple. They're losing Appy and and the blonde cockatoo fuckface himself. Fuck, I hate that fucking piece of shit guy.
Isn't he going to the doggies?
Yeah, he's going to the doggies.
So you get to hate him doubly.
I get to hate him. I'm annoyed
You
that
have a reason to hate him.
Well, Hayes Perham has signed with the Dogs as well, and I really rated him. I really thought he was a great player, and I'm annoyed that the Dogs have got him. It looks like Matt Burton is going to re-sign with the Dogs as well, so they've got a bit of a force growing there.
Next year. Yeah,
I think so. I think the Cowboys are going to come really strong, and they're going to be really pissed. They were rorted in the game against us. I mean, they probably should have been in the grand final, not us. We found a way to win that. We got a few lucky calls. They're going to be a strong force. It's not just going to be the Panthers next. It's not going to be who's going to play the Panthers next year. There's a couple of teams. I don't know what Munster's doing. Munster's. I saw in an interview he said that Storm have had him for $1 a minute or so. What he said something like basically they've had him for cheap for the last few years. So I don't know what's going on with him. The Dolphins, they're not going to do anything in their first year, but off topic. I hate that fucking Kings. It looks like the Dolphin Kings.
Everybody hates that jersey.
Dude, that jersey sucks.
Oh, they had such an opportunity to make a kick-ass jersey and get all these new fans, and they got this Kings. What the fuck is Kings?
Yeah.
But I think next year, I'm not completely shutting the premiership window on ourselves. I do want to see who we're bringing into the team.
Let's not forget Jermaine Hopgood too. He scored 2 tries in the state championship. He's ours next year.
Now, he's a young Nathan Brown in the making. He's fit. He's skillful. He's aggressive. He gives away penalties, which I like. He's a hothead. And he's scored 2 tries. He's got the skills. He's got the aggro. He's got the physique.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him on board.
I'm excited for BA to have him sitting on the bench for the entire season, not playing any football at all. Yeah. It'll be fun to watch him sit on the bench for the whole year. So,
but you've captured the issue that we have had previously, and we will have going forward. That we can sign as many. Well, as we know, we seem to have players leaving, but a lot of the rumours that of people coming tend to not be true. So we can certainly leave them, but it's hard to get them to come. And what happens? They just sit on the bench. Like, I wasn't heartbroken when Ray Stone got signed to the Dolphins because it's like, how many minutes did he get?
None.
He didn't.
You're dead right. He was a
like,
great player. He was a great.
Yeah.
He snapped people in half. If we had him in the grand final coming off the bench, he would have snapped those Penrith forwards in half. It's infuriating.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Can I? One thing from the podcast last week, you guys had that honourable mention about Ray Stone and what he did for the team, but go back a week where he did that absolutely fucking stupid cannonball that cost us the match in the last minute against the Sharks. So hadn't he done that, he wouldn't have needed to make up for it. And when he made up for it, he actually injured his entire season. So, like, yeah, that was great then, but it was preceded by some absolute fuckwittery.
I think we have said, though, we need some players to do that.
That was just ridiculous. Yeah. That was just...
We beat Melbourne in Golden Point. I think it was worth the fucking sacrifice from the week before, to be honest.
When you point out that it's Melbourne, yeah, fuck Melbourne.
Fuck Melbourne.
Fuck Melbourne.
The Parramatta's podcast, because fuck Melbourne.
Okay, so I have a question. In all the post-match speeches, Gutho got up and he spoke. So what about the co-captain?
What about him?
That's a very good point. I haven't seen Junior Paulo at a press conference all year.
Why does it always fall to Gutho? I don't understand.
It was very symbolic, the appointment of Junior as captain, wasn't it? It was. I honestly think it was part of his contract just to entice him to re-sign with the club. It's like, oh, we'll make you co-captain. Mm-hmm. But it's a valid point. If you're going to have co-captains, why aren't they standing there together at the end of the game?
Mm.
And at the press conference, you're dead right. So one question was, after the game, Gutho got up to give a speech and he got booed. Now, was he getting booed by Penrith fans or was he getting booed by Parramatta fans? I assume he was getting booed by Penrith fans. I hope he wasn't getting booed by Parramatta fans, because it came out after the game. Apparently, he has a broken right hand. Apparently, he broke it versus the Panthers. He played through it against the Cowboys. And it would explain why they were running at his right hand. There was 2 times he missed tackles on his right hand, and it was almost like they knew. So I don't know. A brave effort by Gutho. I don't know if you saw the photos of him throwing up halfway through the game. I mean, he literally gave everything. If he had a broken hand, he was still out there diving with it, trying to tackle people. I'm not a big fan of the dual captaincy. I just, just Gutho's captain. That's it, So I don't know. Good question.
Well, Junior doesn't seem like he talks much. I mean, even BA's come out and said he doesn't talk much. He's like
very shy.
Yeah, he doesn't talk. He's probably not the best at answering. But I mean, he's done plenty of media throughout the year. I don't know why he couldn't go and just field. It's not like the captain's the focal point of a post-match press conference, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're always just asking questions of BA. Like, I don't know why Junior couldn't just sit there and give a couple of generic
answers.
Just
sits there and twitches and,
looks breathe
he just stares at nothing.
Rubs his hands.
He's a bit of a space monkey. But to return to your question, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Para fans. They've got booze in them. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And I just hope that with Jake's try, that's the end of the booze for him.
It has to be.
Well, you'd hope so. I mean, even though we're all in agreement that he shouldn't have been there, but he was, and he actually... I was really scared, and I messaged before the game. I was worried he was going to turn him into a Paul Carriage. Yeah. That he was going to come on and make a big stuff up, and then everyone would blame it on him. And the opposite happened. He came on and he did really well, and he scored a try. And that's
good on him.
More than, apart from Gutho, than anybody else did. So good on him.
Yeah, he kicked ass. I thought I was really proud of Jake. And not only that, I think moving forward, he's an excellent backup hooker. He needs to get the halfback idea out of his head. He's not a halfback. He needs to bulk up. If he bulks up and becomes either a dummy half or a second rower, I think ball playing second rower, it could be interesting, but he's a ways off being in the first grade team. I mean, he shouldn't be there. And the experience that he got, if he stays with us, then that's great. He got the experience. I would have loved to have had Wiremu Greg get some experience in the grand final, because he's actually going to be one of our forwards for next year. It'd be nice to have given him some finals experience, or even just some game time. I mean, he's a prospect of the future for us, and I don't want to lose him. And he's got that mongrel in him, and I really like.
Yeah, Macca as well. He had a lot of game time leading into the finals, and then just sort of wasn't there.
It was
at
interesting,
the end
wasn't it?
when he
It
could
was
have
very
been.
interesting. Yeah. Kai Rodwell was named Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, good.
Yep. And I think he's got a snap in him as well. He can hit guys. He's got he's got that Ray Stone ability to snap people. We need to bring these guys on. We need to make them, a bit more powerful and a bit more prominent. Did you guys see they had the Ken Thunnett medal? I think it was either tonight or last night. And
it was last night. Yeah.
Did you see who won?
Sean
Yes. Superhero
Thoughts?
himself.
Thoughts?
Yeah, brilliant. Fuck yeah.
He's had a great year.
Fuck yeah.
He's had a great year.
Oh, what a story. I mean, he literally should not have been playing 80 for the first half of the year. Now, and he was, there's photos of him, with bloody powder and shit from the last few years. He's turned everything around. He's taken it all on board. He's become an extremely professional player, and he's become an 80-minute player. And it wasn't by design, as we found out. BA didn't really know what he was doing with him. Geez, I was impressed. I was impressed with Sean Lane all year. And the coaches award went to Mitch. I think that's because he does seem
that's pretty fair.
Yeah. And Dillbags got the Ray Price Award for work in the public, I think it was. It was social work.
Yeah, well, Dillbags wouldn't have been too far off Player of the Year himself. He had a fantastic year too.
He did. But he did have the ability to go missing also. I think that kid needs to...
He did go missing in a few big games. But then again, so did Mitch. Mitch was floating in and out too. I mean, unfortunately for Mitch in the grand final, when you're doing 100% of the kicking, you're the target, right? Like,
and it's silly because we've got three kickers. We've got Dillbags. We've got Reed. They can all kick well. We needed to rotate it. I'm still of the mindset, and I'm pretty sure you guys are with me on this, that Brad Arthur is not the coach to get us to a grand final. I did want us to end with, because we've pretty much ragged on him for a lot of the year, so we have to sort of sum all this up. I mean, he was the coach who got the team to the grand final. Yeah. So credit where credit is due. Yeah.
But he's good but not great, basically.
Fully agree with that. And I just think that moving forward, Trent Barrett's not the man. I mean, we start talking rebuild now, and it's a little bit scary, Jono.
Yeah, it is. It is. Look, I don't know if this team hit its ceiling. Maybe it did. There's something about this team stopped it from taking that final step this year. And I don't know if it was Brad or maybe we're just a really good team, but we're a really good team, but we're not a great team. Maybe Brad Arthur's a really good coach, but he's not a great coach. I don't know. I don't think there was another team in the comp that was going to beat Penrith or come close to beating Penrith. Yeah. I think we were the only team with a genuine shot at beating Penrith on the big day. But I think this team hit its ceiling, and I don't know how we go past that ceiling next season or even in the next two seasons. I know Brad's out of contract at the end of 24. Yeah. So I think this team achieved as much as it could. It wasn't enough, but we definitely – we hit our potential, and I wish there was a little bit more in the tank, but for whatever reason, there just wasn't.
I would offer that I think speculation amongst us at the start of the year was that all these players who are leaving, they've all said they want to do it for the team. And I'd have to question that to a degree. Not saying it's overwhelming that they all switched off, but I do think there was an eye on next year in part of our team as opposed to, thinking about being in the moment. So I think it would be very hard to galvanize a team when, 15% of it will leave in the following year.
I totally agree with you. And I think that if you look at Murata, I think he probably had one of his weakest years for us. Oregon, one of his weakest years for us. I think that Reed didn't really get out of second gear all year. He didn't progress. He didn't get better than last year. I honestly think he was leaving some in the fuel tank. Ray Stone, we don't really... I just think a great coach would get Ray Stone and go, what's your power? Snapping people. I was going to say. I was like, what's our rating for this show?
Go for it. The last show of the year.
Well, I don't know what YouTube does if I start dropping C-bombs, but
fair enough.
You all know where I was going with that. But that's his superpower, is snapping people in half. A great coach goes, this is what you do. You come out here for 10 minutes, snap people, and then you're off. And then you come on for another 10 minutes, snap them. You know what I mean? Like, that's what a great coach does. He just brings that out. What's he great at? A natural ability to fold people in half, no matter what the size. I see that in Kai Rodwell as well. And I think I'm worried that Brad is going to train that out of him and just kind of make him a mediocre forward. You can't. I think the problem he had with Nathan Brown is he was trying to get the aggression out of him. He's like, I want you to be solid. Nathan Brown likes going out there and tearing guys' heads off.
Yeah.
Let him get sent off. Let him get sin bin. Let him get suspended. Go out there and just tear people's head off, because we don't have any players. You look at all the great teams, they all have that player that goes out there, and we've spoken about this. And I do think that Brad Arthur saw it, or someone else in the club saw it and went, we need one of those players in our team.
Yeah.
Whether or not Brad saw it or not. Now, at the start of this, I said, we've learnt a lesson. When I said we've learnt a lesson, I'm talking about us three. We learnt the lesson. I don't think Brad Arthur learnt shit. I don't want to continue to just rag on the man because he got us to a grand final. I do think he Bradbury'd it. I don't think we were supposed to get past the Cowboys. It would have been interesting to see how the Cowboys went against that Penrith team. They would have lost as well, and they would have come back a stronger team. So we're probably better off the fact that Cowboys need another year now to regroup. Moving forward, we definitely need a marquee player. And unfortunately, I think we need another coach. Now, Brad is there for the next 2 years. So that tells me that the next 2 years is going to be the same shit of playing 15 people on the bench, giving people 1 minute in a game to come out and try and do something. If you were Bryce Cartwright, you'd be looking for another team.
Yeah. You going to another club right now?
Yeah.
You probably are.
Like, I've got a couple of years left in me, and I'm a great footballer, and this guy won't put me on. I've come on and done some magic.
I had that thought the other day. Man. If you're Bryce Cartwright, man,
you'd be gone.
I don't know what his contract situation is, but the Dolphins are probably looking for a bench rotation player.
He should be at the Dolphins next year. He should be, And I don't know what we do with our wingers next year. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of Micah Sivo. I'm just not a fan. You give him the ball and he scores all these tries, but let's not forget that Sean Russell was also scoring a shit ton of tries, and he was fast, and he put in extra effort. And he's, I just, with Sivo, it's kind of like, we're 10 meters out, give it to him. He's big enough to fall over. But, he didn't do it in the grand final. We've got Hayes Dunster coming back. What do we do with Wonga Blake next year?
Back to centers.
Back to centers.
But
what do you do with Bailey Simonson then?
Play him on the other wing.
You're going to play him on the other wing, but
so you have Simonson and Dunster. What do you do with Micah then?
What do you do with
Can
Micah?
Micah play centre? But then what do you do with Will Penasini? We got so many.
Will's,
Too many
Well-
on the outside.
this is the
Good
thing.
problem to have.
Yeah, it is. But I still think we need a marquee player. I still think we need that. We need a Latrell Mitchell. We need just that star factor in the game. And as much as I love Mitch, I'm not sure he's the answer. He's so professional and he can do it. But I think there needs to be someone other than him. He's kind of like the Luke Keary to the Cooper Cronk. We need the Cooper Cronk. We need the one step up to lead Mitch around, and Mitch is there to snipe, when he sees opportunities. But we need someone to lead that team around, like Cleary does. He leads that team around, and he gave Luai. Cleary gave Luai an absolute gobful during that game. He controlled that team. He launched all of their attacks. It has to be said, I don't like this strategy, but it has to be said, surely we try and take him out of the game. I mean, legally, if possible, but surely we needed to hit him hard.
The game plan was to rattle him, and for 10 minutes they tried to, and it didn't really work. Then they stopped, and then our kick pressure stopped. Then our kick chases were lethargic.
Yeah.
Like,
why
the
were
whole
our
week,
kickoffs?
it was just like,
why were our kickoffs going down the center of the field? How come all of a sudden out of the blue we start
what
kicking?
the hell?
Because you kick down the middle, all of a sudden they could come back at us. Dylan Edwards coming back at us can go left or right. We weren't kicking him into the corners and like gang tackle and let's keep him in the corners. We were kicking down the middle. They were hitting up with their forwards, giving it to Dylan Edwards, and he was just kind of like darting all over the place. But I can understand if that was the strategy going in, but it stopped. It didn't work. So Barry, but back to what you said, there's no plan B. There's no. This isn't working. Plan B, kick to the corners. Let's kick to, you don't kick to top, or you kick to shit stains. You bloody, kick over to him. No plan B.
You kicked to Toto because he's got just as slippery hands as Wonga Blake does under the high ball, but they seem to forget that. You kick to the corner, and then the only way the ball can go is away from the sideline that it's already on. I don't know why going down the middle of the field. I don't know. I mean, the short dropouts, we were doing that all year. It's like Gutho doesn't know how to kick a long dropout.
I don't think we were doing it all year, mate. I think we were only doing it for the last 6 games or so. It seemed to be something that they had a meeting about with the last 6 games coming into the finals. And I could be wrong with this. You might be right, but it was really obvious to me that we started doing the short kickoffs in the last, third of the year because they were so unsuccessful. Like I'd love to know the ratio of ones that were successful, and
it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It wasn't. I mean, you start to look at other teams and go, "What do they do?" It's supposed to be
the whole point of the short dropouts is trick play.
Exactly.
You kick them long. You kick them long for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And then you do a short one because it's a trick play.
Exactly.
It's not a trick play if you do it every time.
It's not the stock standard.
I think you'll find. Go back and watch most of our dropouts. I think you'll find we did short dropouts a lot more than we did long dropouts this year. I don't know the reasoning behind it.
No.
But they weren't successful.
They weren't successful.
It was 3 out of every 4 weren't working, and I don't know the logic behind it. The short dropout is a trick play. It's not a trick play if you do it every time, and I really question that decision too. There's a lot of things in the grand final we did that wasn't, usual.
Yes.
I think if that's Brad's lack of experience in the grand finals, our game plan. Did we have a game plan?
Do we really often have game plans? I mean,
I don't know.
It just really feels like we get out there and the players just do their magic. So,
yeah. Which is fine if you coach them like that. If you say, okay, you guys go out and throw around the ball. But it's almost like Brad has always said, you've got to earn the right to throw around the ball. It's almost like he says to them, we're going to go one off. You earn the right, and then we throw it around. But all the games we were successful with this year, we started first tackle, throwing the ball wide.
Yeah.
You know, so I once again, I don't want to be hypercritical because, you know, I really think we overachieved this year. So I was really happy with having a shot at the grand final. I mean, we don't know what would have happened. I mean, Cleary could have pulled a hammy in the first minute, and then or we just get a roll on. We could have, anything could have happened. Once you got a ticket to the game, anything can happen. Unfortunately, we got rolled. And this was the question I wanted to throw to you. I think, Barry, you and I have had this discussion before. I can't remember which side of the coin you sit on, though. Is it better to get flogged like we did, or is it better to lose by 1 point in the last minute? Like, which one hurts more, getting overpowered the whole game or having that lucky bounce go against you in the last minute?
See, we have had this conversation, and you and I, we differ.
Yeah, we
because
do.
You said it's better to be blown out, and I come from like a boxing background, and so to me, it's like Jose Aldo just got starched by Conor McGregor, who caught him with a perfect counter punch. Like, you got credit to McGregor; it was a perfect punch thrown right at the right time, and he's going to live with that for the rest of his life. And I think for Aldo, it would have been better, or any fighter, to actually go the full 5 rounds toe to toe and just lose a close decision. And I guess that's my mindset. So yeah, I'd prefer a tight loss. But just to go back, I don't think we necessarily. Well, the scoreline at the end didn't show that we were blown out. I guess yes, we were blown out, but we were fortunate for those last 2 tries.
We were a bit fortunate, and we were fortunate that, you know, we got the 12 points. I think it was a 16 point win. What was it? 14 to 16. Anyway, 14-point win, and it could have been a 28-point win. You know, we were lucky that they took their foot off the accelerator a bit, and
16-point win.
16-point win. And you know, you look back at the other, when we lost to Melbourne, when we lost to I think it was 8 points. When we lost to the Knights, I think it was 6 points. We were in those games. We were close to bloody. At no point did I feel like we were going to win that grand final. I mean,
No.
in the first 5 minutes, maybe in the first 5 minutes, I was like, I honestly thought we were matching it with them, but they just seemed to get an extra 10 meters than we did and then they got another 10, and it was just like, oh crap, we're on our line. And then they scored, and it was like, oh shit, you know, this isn't good. You know, we kind of needed to score first, and just never felt.
That's what I was saying. Well, that's what I was saying coming to the game too, because our last 2 grand finals, we let the team get this jump on us. You know, we gave Newcastle a 24-0 lead in 2001, and we gave Melbourne a 10-0 lead in 2009, and then lo and behold, we give Penrith an 18-0 lead at halftime, which they extended to 28-0. You know, with about 10 minutes to go, and
I think it was 5.
You're right.
I think it was 5 minutes to go, to be honest. Watching the replay, because I was curious when we scored our try, and I'm pretty sure it was with 5 minutes to go. So, if there's any kind of consolation, we did outscore them in the second half, 12 points to 10. So, we won the second half.
It's not really consolation when it's 28-0 with 5 minutes to go. I'll be honest. So to answer your question, mate, you know, at least I knew by the time we got to 28-0 or even 18-0, it was looking bleak. You know, if you're down 28-0, that's something. If you lose a grand final 19-18, I think we're still very much hurting now today.
Yeah.
But for the sake of recovery and acceptance and all that bullshit, it wasn't close, you know. You know, I'm not walking away from the game shaking my head saying, what if? I'm shaking my head saying, we got beat by a better team. Like, there's no, you know, well, what if this had happened? What if that had happened? It was just like, no, we just lost to a better team. Like, it doesn't hurt as much. It definitely doesn't hurt as much.
I agree. And I think the blowout win doesn't hurt as much for that very reason. Because we would have been blown up something chronic about the obstruction try if we had lost by 2 points. We would have been like, that's the grand final. It would have been like, why didn't Brett Arthur take us all to the game on the same bus? Why was Jake Arthur on the bench? You start, really going over every call. Why did we, do that short kickoff? Why, and you start pulling your hair out a bit. So,
and that's the thing, like if you lose a tight game, you're overcritical about everything. But we didn't lose a tight game; we lost a fairly one-sided game, and we're all sitting here saying, we didn't actually play that fucking badly.
We didn't. We really didn't.
But if we're sitting here and we've lost 28-24, what are we saying then? We're overanalyzing and over-criticizing everything.
See, I would offer though that everybody you bump into would be like, oh, you guys were unlucky. Whereas now everyone you run into, they're all just like, well, you just got spanked.
Yeah.
Like you just got to take that on the chin. And I get what you're saying, but yeah, I guess coming more from that combat sort of side of it, that's the way I sort of see it. Now, at the grand final day, I went out to a friend's place and I wore my Parramatta flag as a cape. So I've hastily stuck it up behind me here, and throughout this long episode, it slowly started
to just deteriorate, just like the eels did.
That's very poetic. That's incredibly poetic.
It's letting us know that the season is coming to an end. Now, I'm sure we're going to come back slightly early next year, and we'll talk about the preseason and some signings and things like that. That's what I imagine we will do next year. However, this will be our final episode for the year. Jono will still be working his magic at the Parramatta's on Facebook and posting things right throughout, starting today, right throughout to the beginning of the season. And who knows, we may actually jump on, and if there's some big news, we might actually throw one together. But we won't be back until 2023. You can still catch me on the Dummy M podcast. Our last episode just gone, we had Wendell Saylor on, which was a big get. And so make sure you check that out. And Jono, you've got your brum brum car thing happening.
I do got my brum brum car thing happening still. Yeah, that season doesn't end until December, so that's all good. That'll keep me entertained. We've also got the Rugby League World Cup, guys. So if any Eels players do something cool for their respective country, I'll keep across it.
We do need to also mention before we wrap things up, we did also have a second team play a grand final. And as I say that, the flag fell.
Got one more bit of sticky tape.
The flag fell a little bit when I said that we had another team in the grand final. And unfortunately, the women's team did go down, just like the flag just disappeared to the Knights. We had no right being in that grand final.
No, we did not.
We won one game and then two games.
They played really well, though. They were in that
did.
game for a while until the end.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
The last 10-15 when Tamika Upton and the
Billy
other
Boyle played well too. Yeah.
The two best players that they poached from the Broncos from last season. Congratulations to Newcastle becoming the Sydney Roosters of the NRLW. But ironically, the Sydney Roosters who we beat to get the grand final.
Yep, and undefeated Roosters.
It was a good effort. It was a good dream run. It was very 2009-esque. We stuck it to the team that we weren't supposed to beat for as long as we could, and eventually talent and money got them over the line, and that was it. But proud of them. Samama Taufa's post-game speech I put up on the page was very, very humble and very, very well done.
I think that the girls once again overachieved. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do next year. Hopefully we get Bo Betty back. We really missed her at fullback. I think that with her coming forward, getting back from injury, it's going to be brilliant. I do also want to mention the World Cup. We only have one of our players selected to play for Australia. And that, to me, that speaks volumes that we really don't have that star power in our team. I mean, RCG was the only one who got selected. Obviously, the other boys, got selected for other teams. Dilbags got selected for New Zealand. Mitch got selected for Lebanon. But when you talk the, Australian team, Mal Meninga has very much picked a Queensland-based team. I don't know what the hell he's thinking there. You've got, yeah, okay, we do know what he's thinking there. We've got the Clive Churchill winner, Dylan Edwards, not making the Australian team. He's not playing the World Cup.
That's such a head scratcher.
We have the Dally M Player of the Year, Neko Hines, not making the Australian team. How the hell do you have those two players not in your team? If you're talking form, you're talking form players.
Yeah.
In that, Australia deserves to lose, for not picking form players. But that's conversation for another podcast, I guess, boys. I guess we wrap up the year. I want to thank you, lads, for joining in. I think I don't know what we started. We started off with Barry and myself, and then Jono and I. We started the parapet, and then we all just went, you know what? Let's just combine the fucker and see what we can do. I've got a lot of plans for next year. We'll make it bigger and better. And
Nice.
I think that we've also got the 37 in a row, the Kevin Smith. I'm excited about having 37 in a row advertising going. 37 years. I don't know if it's going to be the year of the eel next year, but I'm looking forward to seeing what we can come up with. I do think we're going to be strong. I think we're going to have a strong team, and the boys are going to want to play well to redeem themselves. And I think Josh coming in at dummy half, he's a fantastic player. He's a really good player. If he can stay on the pitch, he's going to lead us around. He could be a bit of an X factor, but he gets us to the finals and then he blows his knee, and then we've got, Jakey Boy has to take over and be hooker for the finals. And, anyway, that's all for next season. That was kind of a bit of a trailer for next year, wasn't it? So, giving away too much information. A trailer for next year. Yeah.
Well, in Sean Lane we trust, and I'm sure he's going to have a big 2023. Just to recap, Jono's podcast is actually called the F1 Chat. Don't forget, Bernie had a solo project this year, the Fuck Melbourne podcast.
Yeah, and, it's going strong. Going strong.
Excellent. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. I look forward to catching next week's episode, mate. But until then, everybody stay safe. We will catch you in 2023. And as we always say, click go the Eels.
Click go the Eels, baby.
Click go the Eels 2023. Let's go.